well.
And how this might show up is it might be you have your database, isn't structured too well. Maybe it's not normalized or it's effectively a flat file.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways you can incur technical debt in your application. It could be things like at the database level, like that, not using foreign key constraints to keep your data integrity high, using not properly normalized data. It could be things as simple as the way you name a variable is if you're using like perhaps you're using the word date for a variable in your ColdFusion file, and in ColdFusion maybe it lets you use the word date, but when that code gets translated into something that gets stored in the database, maybe date becomes a reserved word inside your JDBC driver, and then by the time it hits the database, it's causing SQL errors because there's a name collision with the reserved word in the database. And so things like, well, rather than using short, easy to type, potentially reserved words, maybe a better practice might be, why don't you combine a data type prefix on the front of your variable name? Instead of calling it date, if you're referring to the date someone was hired, maybe name it something like DT hired or hired date, or something that takes a little bit more typing but is a more long-term, better way to build things like that. And it could be small things like variable names all the way up to database integrity. It could be practices in place too, not necessarily code you're writing, but things like changing code on the production server. So, this is a really quick fix. I don't need to go to the hassle of logging onto my dev server and making a change and submitting a pull request and testing it on the QA server first. I know it's wrong. I'm just going to FTP onto the production server now and make the change directly. And then, that might be, that might take fewer minutes of time to fix, but now your code on production is out of sync with the code in your source control repository, and it's out of sync with what's on your development environment. So the change you make after that one, you're going to have 10 times more work to do than previously had you just followed the practice of check code into your Git repository and use some sort of modern practice like Jenkins to push that file out to production correctly. You don't have any negative side effects of it.
Right, because down the road you might forget that you've done that, and then you're maybe building a copy of the production server and you forget to copy that file over, or